It's really, to your point, it's really about the learning process, which is right. But a lot of the times when you're trying to hire people, you interview them, they really want clarity on like, hey, what are you doing exactly? What is the product? Who are you going after? But we're just figuring this out, you know. But what we want to know is how quickly we can get to it.
I think one of the things about recruiting, this is for you and your team, but for everybody watching, is you want to create a form of seduction where you want to state, we have this incredible opportunity and we have a hard problem. The top people are not motivated by money or fame. They're most interested in solving a really hard, fundamental, and new problem. And so when I try to recruit people, I say, look, I don't know what to do here, but if you can solve this problem, right, whatever it is, then you'll be a hero. And that works. I'll give you an example of a young man I've been working with on the military side. And it's very clear, and I won't go into the details for obvious reasons. It's very clear that he is a passionate designer of things. And he's not particularly good at anything else, but he's capable of designing things which are extraordinarily good in the aerospace and in the satellite area. So what do you do with such a person? You let them run, right? You basically say, solve the problems in this space. Let's see what you can come up with. And if they're at all interesting, I'll fund the hell out of it. And it works, right? Because you're appealing to his brilliance, but also to his vanity, right? So one way to understand the psychology is that a CEO's job is to get other people to do exceptional work, and the CEO's job is to orchestrate that. Now, CEOs, people forget that 30 or 40 years ago, CEOs were largely hated and thought to be uninteresting. And then we went through this period where everyone loved every tech CEO, and now we're going back to this thing where everyone's under attack all the time for many good reasons. But during the heyday, when we were so popular, it was like amazing. People understood that our job was to essentially organize creative people so that they could be successful. If they're successful, then I am successful. So think of it as if this guy is successful, then I will be successful. And if I'm successful, then the financials will work and everyone wins. People get confused. They think that this is about money, which there's obviously a lot of it, and credit to the people who make that happen. Money is the least important. What is important is being successful in terms of changing the world. What I've learned about people is if you can motivate them around a mission, it's so much easier to manage them because they're busy. I don't need to worry about them. I don't need to worry about these people. I know they're busy because they actually care. And if what would happen, I'll give you an example. At Google in the early years, people would come to me and they would say, because you're asking about this, they'd say, well, I'd really like to work for you. I said, okay, well, that'd be great. I like you too. And he goes, this person goes, but I'm a vice president now. My next job is CEO, so I have to be a CEO, COO, excuse me, which is the number 2 position. And I would say to them very nicely, we don't have a structure for a COO now, but we have a lot of hard problems. That turned out to be the decider. So there are 3 or 4 people who I personally liked who gave the wrong answer, and they would have made, I don't know, $1 billion had they just said, large numbers. Had they just said, I want to come here and I want to just work on the hardest problem you're facing. Because there's lots of hard problems. And people get confused as to what the priority is. If you work for me, as important as you are as a human, you have to say, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make the company successful. And in small companies, because there's this large amount of white space, you can occupy any spaces you want. So what I want you as my employee is to go occupy all these different spaces and sort them out and tell me where there's a problem because you're smarter than I am in this stuff. That's how it really works. In one of my books, in How Google Works, we talk about the distinction between divas and knaves. A diva is Steve Jobs. Brilliant, irascible, committed. No one ever questions Steve's commitment to his customers and to Apple and to the success of his firm. A knave is someone who is in a similar position, but they're fundamentally self-dealing. They're just optimizing for themselves. So if you remember that division, diva versus knave, and it's hard sometimes to tell, keep the divas, support them, because they're the ones that change the company. They're the ones that deliver these new products, but you have to listen to them. Whereas the knaves, frankly, you just have to fire them. And I'm sorry to say, but but if their intrinsic nature is around themselves, and if they're not fundamentally going to rise to the cause and to the occasion and to the majesty of the power that they have, then it's not going to work. When I was at Google, every day I said to myself, I'm so fortunate to be able to lead this company and to play this role because of the consequences. And I never forgot that I was hired by the founders, and even though they nominally worked for me, in practice we worked as a team because I respected their contribution